Shattering Glass Chapter 16. Doesn't anybody get it? Maybe 5 years in and out of therapy has given me insight you normal people don't have. Those boys looked at Simon Glass and each saw a reflection of what he hated most about himself. That's what happened when Simon saw me. I might be a little crazy, but I'm not dense. But if I'm that smart, why didn't I see through the Lance game? Same reason the others didn't see through Rob. It was something I wanted, so I chose not to see. Alice Danvers. The next day before class, we stood around the commons shooting the shit. Lance hung on the fringes, but everyone pretty much ignored him and peppered Glass with questions about the great bell keeper. I eyed the crowd, hoping for a distraction. I got one. Dallas Alice, the school's female outcast, sidled up to Lance like a lanky spider. Then she just stood. Alice was 6 feet tall and weighed about 12 pounds. Lance glanced at her, surprised and unsure of what to do. Alice stood and batted her eyes and giggled. Rana appeared at my side. Look at that, she whispered. Dallas Alice is trying to flirt. It was like watching a giraffe put on a girdle. Lance got edgy and kind of sidestepped away. Alice slid toward him and smiled. This weird mating dance continued until Lance whispered out of the side of his mouth. What gives, Alice? I just wanted to thank you for the card, Lance. What card? Lance demanded, his voice staying low but urgent. Something like confusion or even suspicion flashed through Alice's face. She slid away. Bobster called after her. Don't waste your time, Alice. He held up the hand sporting his senior ring. I'll bet Ansley's dick could slide through my ring. Lance wheeled on Bob, but a voice stopped his fist. Lance, is this a new romance? It was Simon. Lance turned purple. Shove it, Glass, he growled. He jabbed his index finger toward Bob. I'll take care of you later. He stalked off. After that, it was a barrage of cruelty. Happy Birthday to Alice from Lance appeared on the marquee outside the school. A bouquet of balloons arrived in Alice's homeroom soon after. The card was signed, Yours, Lance. Lance couldn't appear anywhere without catcalls and crude jokes. Now that a former outcast and a present one had publicly embarrassed him, Lance might as well have been covered in open sores. He stayed in the parking lot until classes started and ate lunch alone. He walked to class, head down, speaking to no one. Alice dogged his every move. I don't get her, I said. Why can't she smell the sewer? She's got to know this is a setup. Rana's face saddened. Why? She's seen Simon go from toad to class hero. She's seen Lance lose his girl and his popularity. And she's got to be losing brain cells along with pounds. She has no clue about how to act. And somebody's convincing her that Lance likes her. Why does she believe it? It's her only chance to be normal. Nobody's that dumb, I said. Not dumb, desperate. Rana took my hand. Who's going to who's doing this to her and why? After lunch, Rob and I watched Lance walk past a pickup basketball game. I guess Lance knows how Simon felt now, always on the outside. Rob smiled. Nope, Lance has it worse. He knows what it's like to have been on the inside. I looked at Rob, wondering what he had lost, besides his last name. The Saturday after Thanksgiving, Mr. and Mrs. Perry took Rana's little brother to his soccer game. His team was in the finals and the game was being played in Houston. He would play two games, one in the morning and one in the late afternoon. They would be gone until late. We observed the holiday by spending the afternoon under the snowflake white comforter on Rana's bed. You're smooth everywhere, I mused, stroking her silky back. I wish I knew how to purr, Rana murmured. It would be so appropriate. She laid her head on my chest. I can hear your heart beating. It does that pretty regular this time of day. Just then my stomach grumbled. Rana pulled away, rubbing her ear. I think there's been an earthquake. She laid back against her pillow. We did sort of skip lunch. You're all the nourishment I need. I said it in a fakey voice, but I meant it. Maybe so, but you've never had a thickery. A thickery? Yep, a Perry tradition. It is to die for. She slid from the bed, flicked my sweatshirt from the floor, and tugged it over her head. It hung off her hands and hit her mid thigh. I had never seen anything quite so beautiful. I love you, Ron. She curtsied. Thank you, kind sir, but you'll love me more in a few minutes. She crawled onto the bed and kissed me. Don't go anywhere. Can't. You've got my clothes. Aren't you lucky? I'm gorgeous and smart. She slipped away. I tried to grab the edge of the sweatshirt, but she was too quick. And you're so humble, I added. She crossed her eyes, stuck out her tongue, and sashayed out the door. I crossed my hands behind my head. I was buoyant, and it was more than the high of sex. A few minutes later, Rana bounced back into the room. A thickery, food of the gods. She held in each hand two huge chocolate chip cookies with the center of vanilla ice cream. The whole thing was about 3 inches thick. A thickery, I said, taking one with two hands. Rana bit into hers, closed her eyes, and hummed in delight. I took a bite. The cookie was crisp and crumbly, the chocolate chips rich and the cold ice cream satiny on my tongue. We took another bite and caught each other's eyes over the cookies. Rana crunched down, smiling as she swallowed. You know, young, this is as good as anything gets. I wonder if this is it. Is this the very best day I'll ever have? I traced my finger down her nose. I hope not, Ron. I want this to go on forever. But it didn't.